Well, hello, welcome, and thanks for joining me today. Today, I'm going to be working with a rough piece of Mexican crazy lace agate. It's one of my favorite stones for its wild, layered patterns and natural color swirls. I'm going to take you through all 6 wheels, take you through all the steps of turning it into a beautiful, wearable pendant. We start here by cutting on the 80 grit hard diamond wheel. I'm starting on the high diamond wheel because the first step is shaping the outer edges. I have to take down any jagged bits and give the stone a smooth outline. You don't want to rush it here. You just let the wheel do the work and rotate the piece evenly with minimal pressure. This grit is aggressive, so I'm careful to keep a light touch. It's easy to take off too much too fast. One of the secrets that you should know with any grinding is to use ample amounts of water. You'll see the water coming down from up above there and spilling onto the wheel. That keeps the stone from heating up, and hopefully it stops it from cracking. Now, take your time with this step. I spend the most of my time when I'm forming my stones on the 80 grit and the next one, which is a 220. You'll notice that I stop a lot of times and I have a look. Make sure that I'm getting the shape that I need. The nice thing about this is if you don't quite get it, you can always adjust it more, or you can work it a little bit more on the wheels that are coming up. You'll notice by what I'm showing you here that I put a lot of felt tip markers across the top. What I use those for is just my guidelines when I start grinding and doming, which I'm starting to do right there. It takes off those black Sharpie lines. Once they're all gone, I know that I've touched every surface of the top of the stone. Now I'm beginning to dome the top. I'll start in a gentle circular motion, just rounding the surface and blending it towards the edges. This is the first step of making the stone come alive. Those beautiful lace patterns begin to show more depth as I work the contours. And just after this, I'll move up to finer grits. But the foundation is all here. A good shape and a clean dome start right from the start, right on the 80 grit wheel. The goal here is to shape a clean, even outline, removing rough edges while keeping the stone balanced in hand. I rotate it slowly and consistently, making sure not to grind too much off of any one area. Once the shape is there, I'll move on to forming the dome. I'll start at the center of the stone, and I'll work outward in smooth, circular motions, letting the wheel gently round the top. I'm careful not to flatten any spots, just slowly blending that curve toward the edges. I like to stress that at this beginning stage, I'm not chasing perfection, just a solid preform with a clean dome and a strong silhouette before moving on to the finer grits. This is merely my starting point. I'm now in the final stages of grinding the dome on this piece of beautiful agate. At this point, I'm merely refining the shape and smoothing out any flat spots to make sure the dome blends evenly into the edges. It's all about light controlled pressure and keeping the stone moving to avoid any flat spots or dips. It's all about dialing in that clean, consistent curve before moving on. And this is what it looks like after just one of the 6 wheels. Stay tuned to the end. It gets really exciting. It's just going to turn into a beautiful piece. And now I'm moving on to the second wheel in my setup. This one is another hard diamond wheel. It's 220 grit. The grit is medium. This is where the stone really starts to take shape. The roughness of the 80 grit will disappear very quickly under this 220 grit. And now I'm just focusing on refining the dome and smoothing out those deep scratches. Don't be alarmed at the scratches. They come out more and more as you move on in the wheels. I start by reworking the edges, making sure the outline stays symmetrical. Then I go over the dome again using light, steady pressure and constant movement. This wheel helps remove any uneven high spots left from the coarse grind while beginning to soften any transitions that are left. Take your time here. Too much pressure can gouge the surface. You can work it out, but it takes a while. It's just been 2 of 6 wheels and you can really see the patterns start to show more clearly. And now on to the 280 soft resin wheel. This is where things really start to smooth out. It gets to be much more enjoyable from here. The deep scratches from the 220 grit get cleaned up in a hurry, and the surface of the stone begins to feel silky. I'm not shaping anymore, that part's done. This is all about refining the form and removing the rough, gritty texture. As I work the stone gently across the wheel, I start to see a subtle sheen emerge, especially on the dome. It still has a matte finish, but it's a major step closer to that polished look that I'm aiming for. And this is just an extra piece. This is another piece of Mexican crazy lace agate that I finished a couple of weeks ago. And as usual, if you're enjoying this, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. It helps me make future videos. Now it's the 280 soft resin wheel. This is where things really start to get exciting. All the scratches from the 220 get cleaned up, and the surface of the stone begins to feel very silky. There's no more shaping anymore. That part's all done. This is all about refining the form and removing any light rough or grit that's left. As I work the stone gently across the wheel, I start to see quite a sheen emerging, especially on the dome. It's still a little matte, but it's a major step closer to that polished look that I'm aiming for. Well, look at that. Now, I mean to toot my own horn, but it is starting to look like a polished piece of art. And each step brings you closer to the finished product. I'm now on the 1200 grit soft resin wheel, and it truly gets magical from here on. Every pass across the wheel brings out a deeper clarity in the stone. The surface is smoothing out so finely, so nicely, it's beginning to feel like silk under my fingers. You can see the colors coming alive now. They're richer, they're sharper, they're more vibrant. The dome is catching more light, and it's starting to reflect like a piece of glass. That gritty drag from the earlier stages is completely gone. At this point, it almost feels like I'm polishing a piece of frozen light. The transformation is undeniable, and it only gets better from here. And as you notice, what I'm doing here, I'm continuously washing both the wheels and the stone. This helps to prevent grit cross-contamination and makes your work a lot easier. Just a little helpful hint. Well, get ready. We're almost at the end. This is when the finish starts. Well, this is the final stage, finally. Thanks for sticking around this long. My crazy lace agate, which I handpicked myself in Mexico, is now on the 3000 grit soft resin wheel. At this point, no more shaping. This is only about refinement. The surface is whisper smooth, and every swirl and ribbon of color is crystal clear. The wheel barely touches the stone now. It's just a light caress that brings out that final deep liquid shine. It's gone from rough stone to something that looks and feels just like polished glass. The natural patterns are dancing in the light, full of depth and character. This is the moment I've been waiting for, when the stone finally reveals itself to me. What a pleasure. I've been working this stone inside up till now, and now I'm going to take it outside and show you what it looks like in natural sunlight. Also, in a few seconds, once you've spent some time enjoying this, I'm going to show you how easily it is with just one hand, how I can take this stone off. It's been glued on with E6000 adhesive. And then all I have to do with this part of the stone is grind the back and a little more grinding on the sides to round it out. But basically I have just about a finished pendant. As always, thank you for your time today. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy your day.